Hello, my friends. Dorothy here. Today, I'm going to talk about the new moon in Scorpio, which is on November 13th. So, we're going to just get right into it. I hope you're doing well after all of those eclipses. I mean, we always have two in a row, so that's not uncommon. But it really felt incredibly intense. And, I just want to touch on it really quickly, even though this is the new moon in Scorpio forecast. Um, the energy of that last eclipse on October 28th was even more empowered. And I talked about this in my forecast and in depth over on Patreon. It's more empowered even because the lunar gestation cycle that starts at every new moon, the new moon associated with the eclipse on October 28th was April 30th, 2022. And that also was an eclipse. It doesn't always happen that we have two eclipses in a lunar gestation cycle. That cycle lasts about 3 years. And so that is one of the other reasons why the intensity of the eclipse that we had on October 28th, the things we were able to see, the things that have been brought to our attention since that eclipse and the time of this recording, I'm recording this on November 4th, the energy of all of that is incredibly intense. So I want you just to keep that in mind because we are feeling things more intensely than ever. That's why there is so much upheaval in the world. We're feeling it in ourselves due to a lot of various and different reasons. And I want us to look at this new moon in Scorpio on November 13th from the perspective that things are overwhelming. Okay. So I'm just going to get rid of my face. And this is what it looks like here. We have a few components playing out with this new moon in Scorpio. Of course, that's what the new moon looks like right there. It is on November 13th here on the East Coast of the United States. It's at 4:27 p.m. Eastern time. No, 4:27 a.m. Eastern time. And that's at 20 degrees of Scorpio, 20 degrees of Scorpio. And then it's right there conjunct with Mars. As you can see, it's only 2 degrees off. It's opposite Uranus. And then it's also in a very difficult aspect. I call it the quincunx. It's also known as the in conjunction, but the quincunx means 5/12. So that's what we'll say. And that's to the new moon. I mean, to the North Node in Aries. And then it even makes a trine aspect over to Neptune. Oh my God, so much to dig into here. So that new moon in Scorpio is about digging deep, diving deep into the shadows and into our own, how we can unveil our own transformation and personal growth. And that's what this really comes down to. So while you're looking at that, let's talk about this. So that new moon in Scorpio, when we have that, our feelings are quite intensified, honestly, because that's Scorpio. The moon in Scorpio feels incredibly deep. So our feelings and our emotions go inward, and it feels very important. Really deep-seated energies come to the surface with this. So what are some of those Scorpio things that can actually come to the surface? Now, this feels crappy for some. It feels really yucky for some, but it's also a process that needs to come up and out so we're able to start a healing process too. So with the moon new, dark, she's dark at the new moon. We don't have an opportunity yet to plant some seeds, but we're thinking about what it is we want to do. And these are the things that I would hone in on and focus on, is that commitment to doing some of your own work, your own shadow works, maybe some shamanic healing, just those types of explorations of yourself deep inside. Those are some of the things that we want to look at. That's a big, big piece of that new moon in Scorpio. With that new moon in Scorpio, with Mars, that intensifies that feeling, because there with Mars, it is definitely about taking action and what action should we take. Mars in Scorpio is very deep. Mars wants to do something. Let me tell you, here's the more shadowy piece of this, and in our unconscious, subconscious mind, or if we're feeling like something we feel like we've been hurt or harmed in some way, Sometimes we have that feeling of retribution or retaliation and getting back at somebody. It's just part of everybody's innate nature. It's part of our shadow side. Some of us are more in alignment with that than others. And if you keep stuffing it, though, things have to come up so we can process it and evaluate it in our own lives, right? So don't be afraid of doing some of this shadow work, because this is what I would absolutely recommend that we do with that new moon in Scorpio conjunct Mars in Scorpio. He's the co-ruler of that zodiac sign, so he's quite comfortable there. The moon, on the other hand, is not comfortable in Scorpio for the most part. If you're born with it, you're comfortable with it. But for the most part, it feels too deeply for a lot of people. And then now that it's also in a trine aspect to Neptune, that Neptune in Pisces, there it is. That's a water trine. There's a lot of water in the chart. If I put everything back in, it's a heavy fixed water chart with everything involved. But again, we're just focusing on these 4 points today. This new moon with Scorpio trine Neptune in Pisces, water energy. I want you to, we need to be aware of the things that are painful to us, right? The things that are coming to the surface. And if we don't address them by doing our own shadow work, if you will, just means get a therapist if you don't have one. Just do the things you know that to help you and guide you through a process of understanding what an issue is that happens to be coming to the surface and getting the proper help for that. Because this Neptune to the new moon is incredibly sensitive. And one of the action steps we can take is to find somebody to help guide us through the process that we need to go through. It is deep. And then with Neptune and all of this Scorpio energy and all of this Neptune Pisces energy in this water energy, it's just about trusting your flow, trusting your intuition, and working with those who you feel you can trust. So that's the component of this new moon with Mars trine Neptune. Yeah, it's pretty significant. Stop sharing. It is pretty significant. Now, the next aspect, as I want to look at it here, we have this new moon opposite Uranus, and it's quincunx the North Node in Aries. So it doesn't matter which way I put this. The new moon opposite Uranus, both are in fixed signs, Scorpio, Taurus, both fixed signs. So we want some stability. We don't want it to tip the apple cart, if you will. We don't want to do that. We're reluctant to embrace this process. But Uranus, it's a tight aspect, and Uranus is like, no, we really need to address this process. Now, if you've tried addressing whatever you have coming to the surface, if you've tried addressing that before, I want you to figure out or find another way to approach it. That's what that Uranus is telling us. It's like it's really going to put it in our face. I know. I have to live through this stuff too, right? This is my ascendant, descendant. I get it. What in partnerships and relationships, right? That opposition talks about that too. It talks about the partnerships, relationships, what's in our face. How can we approach something from a new perspective? That is it in a nutshell, the simple piece of the Uranus being opposite this new moon, right? And Mars. Mars-Uranus opposition happened just before this new moon, and that's pretty volatile. And I talk about that in the weekly forecast, which if you're not listening to this on Patreon, or if you are, or if you're on wherever you are, I have a weekly tier where we do lots of really in-depth astrology. Please come and join me and support me over there. I really would appreciate it. It helps keep this free content going. All right. Now, the other thing that we have is the quincunx to the North Node. Now, that one is not easy. That one's a challenge because quincunx, there's nothing in common between the zodiac signs, between between the zodiac signs that are engaged in this quincunx aspect. So what we need to do here is, we're regularly needing to make adjustments. Now, the North Node in Aries over this last 6 months, and we have another year to go with the North Node in Aries. This is where eclipses will fall as well, for the most part, not everyone, but for the most part. And that is bringing up to us, it's like, what is it that, what do I need? It's Aries. It's how do I take action? It's just like Mars conjunct the new moon. Mars is the ruler of Aries. And so it's like, what steps are we needing to take care of ourselves? It is uncomfortable and it's hard to do. And why is it hard to do? I got my Scorpio stone right here. Why is it hard to do? It's hard to do because we have to heal something first before we can then embrace our own selves, embrace the I am, embrace that next step. So this new moon in Scorpio, with all of those components that are present that I've just mentioned, gives us this incredible opportunity. I can stop my share. Gives us this incredible opportunity as we sit down to write in our journals, write out our intentions, really spend some time intending to address some of the deeper emotional things that are in your heart, that are in here, that you need to start a healing process before something fresh and new can begin. The North Node in Aries. And Mars is hanging out with that new moon. Mars is the ruler of Aries. So Mars has the key. That's the key. And what's the key in one word? It's like, no, it's more than one word. It's like, take a step towards your own self-healing. All right. The whole full written forecast. It's not that deep. It's like 1,000 words. It's over on my blog, and you can get that in your inbox if you're on my newsletter email list. Thank you guys so much. And please do come and support me over on Patreon, because this is what I do. And I appreciate your support. Blessings, everybody. And namaste.